and I need to tell you something that's been weighing on me for years. I'm rich. Not comfortable, not well off. Rich. Multi-millionaire rich. The kind of rich where I don't look at prices anymore. The kind of rich where my passive income exceeds what most people make in a year. The kind of rich where money is no longer a constraint on anything I want to do. And you know what? It terrified me. Not because I was afraid of losing it, but because when I finally got everything I thought I wanted, when I finally had more money than I knew what to do with, I had to confront a question I'd been avoiding my entire life. What is money actually for? Today, I'm going to share with you the 7 rules that made me wealthy. But more importantly, I'm going to share what I learned when wealth stopped being the goal and started being the question. Because here's what nobody tells you. Getting rich is the easy part. Figuring out what to do with it, who to become because of it, and how to live with it, that's the hard part. Let's begin. Rule number 1. Spend less than you make. Always. I know this sounds obvious, kindergarten-level obvious. But let me tell you something. This is the rule that 90% of people violate every single month, and it's the reason they stay broke no matter how much they earn. Dave Ramsey says, "Act your wage." I love that. It's not your salary that makes you rich, it's your spending habits. My father used to tell me, it's not what you make, it's what you keep that'll make you rich. And I didn't understand what he meant until I almost destroyed my financial future in 1 week. I was 21 years old. I got a check for almost $20,000 for 1 month of consulting work. It was more money than I'd ever seen in my life, and I thought, I've made it. I'm rich. My little brother came to visit, and I said, let's go on a ski trip. Let's live. Over 10 days, I spent $13,000. Snowboard gear, hotel rooms, paying for it. Save during the good years, so you survive the bad years. This isn't just ancient wisdom. This is the foundation of wealth. You must spend less than you make, not sometimes, always. Rule number 2, pay yourself first. This one is counterintuitive. Most people think, I'll pay my bills, cover my expenses, help others, and then, if there's anything left, I'll save it. Wrong. Dead wrong. You are your most important asset, not your house, not your car, not your watch. You, your time, your energy, your potential. I learned this from my business partner, Ethan. We had just raised $1 million. We were building something big. And one Sunday, I needed him to come to the office to solve a critical problem. He said he couldn't. Why? He had to do laundry. I said, laundry? We just raised $1 million, and you can't come in because of laundry? He said, I'm not paying myself enough. I'm barely making rent. I can't afford to pay for wash and fold. That's when it hit me. We had $1 million in the bank to build the business, but he couldn't invest $35 to buy back his time so he could actually work on the business. Here's the equation most people get wrong. They trade time for money. Work more hours, make more money. That's the trap. Here's the equation that builds wealth. Invest time to learn skills. Use those skills to make more money. Use that money to buy back your time. Use that time to learn more skills. Repeat. Most people spend time to save money. I spend money to save time. Then I invest that time in becoming more valuable. The Talmud teaches The world stands on three things: Torah, service, and acts of kindness. But it also teaches if there is no flour, there is no Torah. Meaning, you can't serve others if you can't take care of yourself first. Pay yourself first. Invest in yourself first. Buy back your time first. Everything else flows from that. Rule number 3. Dumb luck. Random opportunities that just happen. Level 2. Grit luck. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Level 3. Skilled luck. You get so good at something that opportunities come to you because of your skill. Level 4. Others' luck. You become so valuable that other people's opportunities flow to you. This is Warren Buffett level. This is Oprah level. This is when things get crazy. But you can't get to level 4 if you're scattered. You have to focus. You have to go deep. You have to become the tip of the spear. In the Talmud, there's a teaching. He who grasps too much grasps nothing. Focus is power. Distraction is death. Stick to your unfair advantage. Invest in what you know. Don't get distracted by shiny objects. Build mastery in one domain, then leverage that mastery into wealth. Rule number 4. Have a disaster recovery plan. Jim Rohn said, "Never begin the day until it's finished on paper." Same with life. Plan for success, but also plan for disaster. You could lose it all. The economy could crash. You could get sick. A law could change. You could make a terrible decision. Most people don't plan for disaster, so when disaster strikes, they panic. They make emotional decisions. They destroy what they've built. I learned this when I was building data centers for my software company. If the power went down, backup generators had to kick in. But you couldn't just hope they'd work. You had to test them. You had to have a checklist. You had to know exactly what to do when things went wrong. Why? Because it allowed us to move fast without fear. We could take big risks, knowing that if something went wrong, we had a plan. My business coach Ed Milet says, worry is a wasted use of your imagination. Most people worry because they haven't built a plan. So build the plan, then get back to building your life. Here's what I recommend. Have 6 months of expenses saved in cash, not invested. Cash. If everything goes wrong, you have 6 months to degree might cost $50,000. But if it increases your lifetime earnings by $500,000, that's a 10x return. Show me a stock that guarantees that. But education isn't just formal schooling. It's learning high-income skills. It's mastering your craft. It's becoming excellent at something valuable. In Jewish culture, education is sacred. We call it Torah. Not just religious study, but all knowledge, all wisdom. There's a story in the Talmud. A man asks a rabbi, "Should I invest in land or in my son's education?" The rabbi answers, "Invest in your son's education. Land can be taken from you. Knowledge cannot." This is why Jews have historically dominated fields like medicine, law, finance, science. Not because of genetics, because of culture. Because education is the one asset that can never be confiscated. Invest in yourself. Learn constantly. Master your craft. Become world-class. The money will follow. Rule number 6. Give generously, always. This is the rule that changed everything for me, and it's the rule most people resist the most. In the Torah, we're commanded to give ma'aser, 10% of our income. Not suggested, commanded. I started giving 10% when I was making $30,000 a year and barely surviving. People thought I was insane. How can you give away money when you're broke? But I understood something they didn't. Giving isn't about the money. It's about the identity. When you give consistently, you train your subconscious mind to believe, I have more than enough. I am abundant. I am a source, not a drain. That belief changes everything. The Talmud says, Aser bishvil shetitasher. Give tithes so that you may become wealthy. This isn't superstition, it's psychology. Here's what happened in my life. The more I gave, the more opportunities appeared. Not because God was magically rewarding me, but because my mind makes those things possible. In the Torah, King Solomon, the wealthiest man who ever lived, wrote, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." He had everything, and he realized wealth without purpose is meaningless. The Talmud teaches, who is rich? He who is satisfied with his portion, not he who has the most, he who is satisfied. This doesn't mean you shouldn't build wealth. It means you need to know why you're building it. Are you building wealth to prove something? To impress people? To fill a void? That's a recipe for misery. Or are you building wealth to create freedom, to serve others, to leave a legacy, to live according to your values? That's a recipe for meaning. I had to learn this the hard way. I built wealth, and then I had to figure out what to do with it. And here's what I discovered. The most fulfilling thing you can do with money is use it to create opportunities for others, to give generously, to invest in people, to build things that matter. Money should serve your values, not replace them. Money should enable your purpose, not become your purpose. In the end, these 7 rules made me rich, but they also made me question what rich actually means. Is rich having a lot of money? Or is rich having a lot of freedom? Is rich having expensive things? Or is rich having meaningful relationships? Is rich being able to buy anything? Or is rich being able to choose anything? I don't have all the answers, but I know this. The rules that made me wealthy also taught me that wealth without wisdom is worthless. So here's my challenge to you. Apply these 7 rules. Build wealth. But don't stop there. Ask yourself, what is money for in my life? What do I want it to do? Who do I want to become because of it? Because getting rich is easy. Living rich, that's the real challenge. I was here, I didn't know what to do. The Talmud tells a story about a man who spent his entire life accumulating wealth. On his deathbed, his students asked him, "What did you learn?" He said, "I learned that I should have spent less time counting my gold and more time counting my blessings." That hit me hard, because I realized I had become so focused on building wealth that I forgot to build alive. So I had to ask myself some hard questions. Questions I'd been avoiding for years. Questions that made me uncomfortable. Questions that ultimately changed everything. Question 1. If I died tomorrow, what would I regret not doing? I made a list. It was long. Too long. Trouble I hadn't taken. Relationships I hadn't nurtured. Experiences I'd postponed. Books I hadn't read. Conversations I hadn't had. I realized I had all this money, but I wasn't using it for the things that actually matter to me. So I made a decision. I started saying no to opportunities that made money but didn't align with my values. And I started saying yes to experiences that cost money but created meaning. I took my family on a month-long trip to Israel. Not a quick vacation, a real journey. We studied Torah in Jerusalem. We floated in the Dead Sea. We walked where our ancestors walked. And it was the best money I ever spent. Because I realized money isn't for accumulating. It's for experiencing. It's for creating memories. It's for building relationships. It's for living. Question 2. Who am I becoming because of my wealth? This was the scariest question, because I didn't like the answer. I had become arrogant. I had started judging people by their net worth. I had stopped listening to people who made less money than me. I had convinced myself that because I was financially successful, I was somehow better. Generations I'll never meet. In Jewish tradition, we have a concept called Lador Vador, from generation to generation. Everything we do should be with the next generation in mind. I thought about my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. What would they inherit from me? Just money? Or values, wisdom, character? I realized if all I leave them is money, I've failed, because money without wisdom is dangerous. Money without values is destructive. Money without purpose is meaningless. So I started thinking differently about wealth, not as something to hoard, but as something to steward, not as an end, but as a means. I created a family foundation, not to put my name on buildings, but to fund causes I believe in. Education, poverty relief, supporting small businesses, helping families in crisis. I started writing letters to my children about money, not about how to make it, but about how to think about it, how to use it wisely, how to avoid the traps I fell into, how to build wealth without losing their souls. I started teaching them the 7 rules I learned, but more importantly, I started teaching them the questions behind the rules. Because here's what I've learned. Rules without understanding are just restrictions, but rules with understanding are wisdom. Let me give you an example. Rule number 1 is spend less than you make. But why? Not just to save money, but to create margin, to create breathing room, to create options. When you spend everything you make, you're trapped. You're dependent on your next paycheck. You're one emergency away from disaster. You have no freedom. But when you spend less than you make, you create space. Space to invest. Space to take risks. Space to say no to opportunities that don't align with your values. Space to say yes to opportunities that do. That's not just a financial rule. That's a life rule. That's freedom. Or take rule number 6, give generously. Why? Not just to help others, but to remind yourself that you have enough, to train your mind to operate from abundance instead. I'm doing with mine. I'm using it to create opportunities for others. I'm using it to fund education for kids who can't afford it. I'm using it to support entrepreneurs who have great ideas but no capital. I'm using it to take care of my family, my community, my people. And I'm using it to buy something that money can't actually buy. Time. Time with my family, time to study, time to think, time to create, time to live. Because in the end, that's what wealth is really about. Not having more money, having more life. The Talmud teaches 3 things restore a person's soul: beautiful sounds, beautiful sights, and beautiful scents. Notice what's not on that list? Money. Money can't restore your soul. Money can't give you peace. Money can't make you happy. But money can give you the freedom to pursue the things that do restore your soul. The freedom to create beauty. The freedom to spend time with people you love. The freedom to live according to your values. That's what these 7 rules gave me. Not just wealth, freedom. And that's what I want for you. Not just to be rich, but to be free. Free from financial stress. Free from the trap of comparison. Free from the need to prove yourself. Free to live according to your values. Free to create the life you actually want. So yes, apply these 7 rules. Build wealth. But don't stop there. Ask the deeper questions. Who am I becoming? What legacy am I building? What is money actually for in my life? Because getting rich is easy. Living rich, that's the challenge. And living rich doesn't mean having the most money. It means having the most freedom, the most meaning, the most impact, the most life. That's what I learned when I became so rich that I questioned the meaning of money. That's what I want to pass on to you. In the Torah, God promises Abraham, "I will bless you and you will be a blessing." First you receive, then you give. That's the
Subscribe my YouTube channel, Blessed Billionaire.